What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more video game music after a while. I do apologize for any of the people who had been following the video game reaction series. I'm doing a lot of different deep dives, and for the last several months I've been trying to unroll new reaction categories, new genres, new artists, and so on. It was, given how my short-term memory works, it was always likely that some deep dives were going to fall off. This is certainly one of them. But trying to get back to reacting to some video game music, and we're going to go back to, if not my absolute favorite game, and it probably is certainly one of my all-time favorite games and will forever be in that conversation, no matter, anything that happens in the future, or any renaissance I have with some older game that is now, not considered on the same level. But bottom line, Chrono Cross is just an amazing game, and as anyone who's played it knows, the soundtrack is just unparalleled, honestly. Like, I've heard a number of great game soundtracks from different generations, going right back to the 8-bit generation, which is, where I joined the story, which is to say, the first game system I remember my family having was a Atari, I think the 2600. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Bottom line, I was born in 80. I do remember little flashes of my brother playing Pitfall and so on, but I got a regular Nintendo when those became the hot commodity, and I played Mario as a kid and so on. So like, I joined the video game world in the 8-bit phase, and I've heard good music going back to that era, which now would be called chiptune, from the 16-bit era, from the early disc era, which this game technically is part of. Obviously the PlayStation had been around by at least, I think, a couple if not a few years, by 99, which is when Chrono Cross came out. And I'm sure, again, anyone who knows this game will know it's the sequel to Chrono Trigger, another one of my very favorite games. And I mentioned, when I did a reaction to the last Aha tune that I reacted to, which, again, if you know this tune that I'm about to react to, I encourage you to listen to Aha's You Have What It Takes. I think you will be shocked. Nevertheless, when I reacted to that, I made the point that Chrono Trigger will always be one of my favorite games, but even that game, there's no moment where I felt super emotional, like on the edge of tears. It's a very compelling story. I think it's very well written. It's just a perfect game, but it never got me on the edge of that level of emotion. This game did, certainly when I finally got the best possible ending, which, it's a bit of a task. You have to, either be a very clever gamer, or these days you can obviously look online and just, have someone walk you through how you do it. Nevertheless, when I first got it, I found that this awesome and brilliant game, if you get the ideal ending, it's like a 20-minute ending. It's a very long ending with multiple parts, and at the very, very end of the ending, it rolls credits. And when it rolls credits, it shows a live action music video, essentially, of a character from the game who's come to the real world, searching. Real world meaning, like, the world, I think it's shown in Japan. So it's like suddenly a character from the game, because they're crossing dimensions, they're going into different times, and it's like, oh wow. So, without spoiling too much, the essence of the best ending is that these two people will find each other no matter what dimension, what time. They're just bound by the cords of fate, to come together and to right the wrong of the world and so on, and to, find love together. So it's like at the very end of this extra special long ending, the female character has come to the real world searching for this other person in that dimension, in our dimension. So it sort of takes the ending, and it's like, now it's on this meta level, and it's like, oh man, and when that happens, this song plays. So I'll stop talking, we'll listen to it. This is from the Chrono Cross game by Yasunori Mitsuda, or Mitsuda Yasunori, who did the soundtrack both to this and to the first game, Chrono Trigger. And the track is called Radical Dreamers, and it's essentially, it's also called Ending Theme. So it's Radical Dreamers dash Ending Theme by Yasunori Mitsuda from the Chrono Cross soundtrack. just sonically a very beautiful tune in light of the narrative and ending of the game. If you're fortunate enough to know that story. But I gotta say, later I wasn't really thinking about going into this, which I really should have been. My early 20s, I had a couple relationships that were very powerful and passionate and amazing, but also complicated and up and down and topsy-turvy. One of them in particular, it lasted like 6 years, but there were like good times and bad, off and on and so on. And when I was playing this game, because the relationship started when I was still in high school and it went into my mid-20s, so when I was first playing this game and really enjoying the soundtrack and eventually beating it and hearing this tune, it was also at a time when I was in a very complicated and passionate but ultimately painful in some cases relationship. So this tune and a couple other tracks from the soundtrack instantly transport me back to that place sort of psychologically and emotionally. So part of the reason as I was listening, I was like, oh man, this is like, it's not only a great tune, not only a great tune in the game, but it does, inevitably we link music to our own personal lives in different ways. And it immediately took me back to the maelstrom of my emotions that was that period of my life. So a tune with great power above and beyond the context from which it comes. So in any case, do let me know what you think of this. Shout out to Yasunori Mitsuda, who I remember reading, I think it was for this game, although I know, he stressed very hard working on the Chrono Trigger soundtrack too, but I remember reading he had like essentially what would be called a nervous breakdown because he was so stressed about wanting to make sure that the soundtrack for this game was as good and as memorable as the Chrono Trigger soundtrack. So trust me, sir, you did your job. You accomplished most successfully that goal. Big shout out to the game Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. Let me know what you think. Again, I haven't done a video game reaction. It feels like a few months, but I'll try to keep them more regular, at least a couple of months. So I'll try to get another one in the next week or so. So in any case, let me know what you think of this tune. I will see you next time. Peace.